Hi, Scorpio Sun and Rising. Welcome to your May 2021 Astro Update. It's Raina here. So, as the month begins, there is a lot of energy in your opposite sign of Taurus. The Sun is there, Mercury and Venus are there. And this is the seventh house of committed partnership. So, depending on what your relationship, your one-on-one relationship is like, and this doesn't have to be just like love, this could be like a business partnership. It can tell you what else is going on. It can kind of tell the story because let's say you're having rocky times. You may be getting divorced right now, and Mercury in that seventh house, which is also the house of legal affairs, could be you hashing it out, who gets what. Venus there could even be, for some people, if they've already gone through the process, they're starting to get financial compensation of some sort. But yeah, there's activity in this area. And if this is like a love relationship that is, that you're committing to each other and things are rosy, you might be planning a wedding. Because Mercury can be these details, signing contracts. Maybe it's the reception hall or whatever, the caterer. And Venus can be paying those bills or, spending money on the decorations and things like that. Or the honeymoon. On the 3rd, Mercury goes into Gemini. So then we're talking about the 8th house. Well, do you know anything about the 8th house, Scorpio? Do you understand your connection to the 8th house? You rule the 8th house. And so this area is near and dear to your heart, or you could at least say it's very familiar to you what it represents. It's the house of alchemy or transformation. The house of death. I said the health. And death is transformation. And it's not always physical death, When we get the death card, I haven't pulled the death card for a while. I just realized that. But when I do pull the death card when I'm doing a tarot reading, people are like, oh my God, it's the end of something. But in the 8th house, unlike the tarot, we're talking about transformation. Well, of course, endings do come when you transform yourself. But this can be also the house of metaphysics. So with Mercury in the 8th, that can certainly be somebody who is delving into those mysteries of the universe. The 8th house is shared resources. So that might be researching that if you're like in some kind of embroiled in some kind of a dispute or a lawsuit, and you need to prove that somebody earns a certain amount of money, whatever, things like that. That can be what is going on here. So Venus enters this house on the 8th, and that can be like some kind of a payout. So there might even be like, inheritance issues that have gone to court and getting that money. The 8th house is other people's money or shared resources. So all month long, Mars is in Cancer, which is your 9th house. So the 9th house can relate to higher education, to travel, long distance travel, not local travel, but long distance travel. If you're in the same country, perhaps it's thousands of miles away on the other coast or what have you. And you might just be restless for adventure for some reason. This is an area, because it is connected to travel, it's connected to expansion, actually, and that can involve your philosophical constructs or, just religious studies and things like this. But there's a physicality to this because it's Mars, or just like an energetic thing where aggression and all that kind of thing, or, just like that passion for something. this can bring you into contact with people who are foreigners, are from different cultures, and things like that. Now, Mars is a god of war, so there could be something to do with war with this. So if your Mars is afflicted, based on other things, I'd have to look through everything else. I'm not going to do that, but that could indicate you have to really be careful because it could be dangerous. And sometimes in these situations, you may be seeking out something that's on the edge anyway, because Mars is so like a daredevil and restless for this adventure. I didn't think about this, but if you are in the military, you might be shipping out or going to another country. Maybe you're training in your home country and you're going to be shipped out somewhere else. I hope this is, just like a normal thing and it doesn't indicate anything else in the grand scheme of things. But there's always soldiers who are going one place to another. And in any case, there's even mentally, because this is a mental house, you can be covering new territory and being a voracious learner. Maybe you're really just like diving into something. Scorpios are very, intense about their passions in life. So I could totally imagine that. And this is the God house, so there could be a religious angle. Alrighty. So on the 11th, there's a new moon at 21 degrees of Taurus, back in that house of relationships. The first half of the month, you are going to have the planets going into that 8th house, but there's still, because Taurus is like in these signs at the very beginning of the month. There is energy in there. The sun is there. The new moon on the 11th in this area of committed partnership can, also really showcase this area of life for you. However, at the end of the month, there's going to be more things that might feel up in the air because I'm going to get to that, but like a lunar eclipse and things like that. So if you're launching something, you might find it much more cooperative with the universe to do it in the first half of the month. So the new moon in Taurus can be a new chapter in your relationship with somebody. Again, if you are on the fence, maybe you are in a committed relationship, but you haven't really figured out what you want to do with that person, you might say, you know what, I love you, let's just go for it. You might feel this sense of like, yeah, you make your decision that you want to be with that person. But I think I've even seen this where somebody has gotten divorced and they had some kind of a trigger like the new moon in the 7th house. So that could be a new chapter in your relationship called divorce. Again, this is not saying that if you have a happy relationship right now and you're listening in late April, that you're going to get divorced next month or you're going to move out of your place with your partner. This would be something that's already an ongoing ordeal, situation, whatever. If you are somebody who works for yourself and you have clients, this can be a great time to set intentions, like about you between now and the lunar eclipse, which is actually happening in Taurus in November. So we're talking about like a 6-month time span. How can you bring new clients into the fold? And the reason this can be so great to set these intentions is because you can have that harvest come, close to the end of the year. And it's because you're really being conscious about it. You're not just, going along with the program. On the 13th, Jupiter goes into Pisces. Well, here's another water sign. So you have some transits in water, Scorpio, just like you. You have this trine situation happening. Of course, the Mars is trining your sun or ascendant, so that's a friendly angle. So don't get scared about if you are traveling that something bad's going to happen to you. That's not what I was saying. I just don't want to go through all the angles that might be forming with that situation. But this is on the other side. So this is actually the 5th house of romance and creativity. Wow. This is such a great place because this is the house that the sun rules under the sign of Leo in the universal chart. And it really is about pleasure. So whether it's, and also children is part of this house. So if you're an artist, and this doesn't have to mean that you are making money being an artist. Perhaps you just have this skill, Scorpio, and you just haven't used your talent to parlay it into a career. This period of time, but especially in 2022, this might be a very opportune time for you to do just that. And the reason that I suggest people do this, even if you like what you do other than art, is first of all because you can share it with other people while also having another source of income, which never hurts, right? But also because it gives you a sense of utilizing your talents, not just having them sit there. Now, of course, you can do that as a hobby. The 5th house are also your hobbies. So this can expand your the type of hobbies that you have, but it can also, Jupiter has like a connection with money as well. It can also mean that you are profiting from your hobbies. And there's even a bit of luck that's associated with Jupiter. So maybe you get some kind of lucky break. Maybe you show your painting on YouTube and people are like, oh my gosh, where can I buy that? Do you have an Etsy shop? Oh my gosh, I'd love to buy this. And then your business is born and it doesn't even take any money. Just, open an Etsy shop or something. And you're able to sell through there, whatever. It's just an amazing thing. And with Jupiter, it expands that ability. Maybe it makes you more prolific so that you can keep up with demand. But this is also the house of love. So if you're somebody who is single, or even if you're in a relationship, maybe you're that person who just got out of a relationship, this can be somebody, it's like a lucky break where you meet this person, almost like kismet. And but I would say, too, that you have more opportunities because Jupiter can give the person, a lot, volume. Sometimes with that expansion, we're talking about volume, and that means that there's more to choose from. When Saturn is in the 5th house, it's like very restrictive sometimes, and the person is very serious, and Jupiter is kind of fun. So you may be just enjoying a love affairs. Maybe you'll have a bunch of love affairs, and this might be especially the case if you have broken up with somebody recently, because you may, even though you're a Scorpio, you may be like, the last thing I want to do is get stuck into another relationship, so I'm just going to play the field, that kind of thing. I also think because Jupiter rules the 9th house that there can be somebody in terms of love that comes into your life that has a spiritual connection with you, I'm not talking about karmic like if it was Saturn. I'm talking about just that they have either like, maybe it's a Sagittarian individual, or they have like a strong Sag signature in their chart, or they just are very, maybe a Pisces. Jupiter ruled Pisces for a while there. Maybe it's still considered a ruler it's the ancient ruler of Pisces. But just somebody who opens you up, maybe a foreign person from a foreign environment there again. Yeah, Mars in the ninth house. Maybe that's like being on vacation and meeting somebody, and it's like, how Stella got her groove back. Wasn't that in a foreign, or she was on a ship or something, a cruise ship? I don't know. Something like that. So that can be lucky for you, meeting somebody who's very positive, or a foreigner from a different, I think they even say from a different race. Usually Jupiter is like, other countries, but of course that can include racial categories too. Just people who, it's like broadening your outlook on life. And this would be in the area of love. So that if you have like one type of person that you typically get involved with, and I think a lot of Scorpios probably do, being a fixed sign, that you open that up. Some people are really funny about that. They will just be like, oh no, I like this type of person. You're like, well, but just, why not just keep your mind open? You never know. That might just be like physical attraction, that you just like a certain look, but that doesn't mean that they, have good behavior or anything like that. So it's always good to like sometimes maybe date somebody that isn't your quote unquote type, because then you realize that might just be the physical anyhow. So on the 20th, the sun goes into Gemini. So the sun is in that house. So you become even more scorpionic. I don't know if I can handle that, Scorpio, you becoming more scorpionic, but even more, maybe a little bit more secretive, a little bit more into yourself, because when the sun is in Taurus, it may be this, I'm sorry, not Taurus, when it's in Taurus and it's in the 7th house, you may, that's also the house of public relations, and you may be like kind of schmoozing, especially if you have clients and you're doing all that stuff. And the 8th house is more inside of yourself. And maybe this is more introspective in some way. On the 23rd, Saturn goes retrograde. So we have 2 retrogrades in this month. Saturn goes retrograde, 13 degrees of Aquarius, fixed sign, angular house. This is coming from ahead of you. The fixed sign ahead of you is Aquarius. It's so funny too, because I'm self-taught, and for the longest time, even when I had been doing this for probably years, I didn't think like that. I didn't think like, okay, it's like I had to write everything down. I had to see it. I had to see a chart, and then I just started really being able to picture it in my head. So what we're talking about is the 4th house of home and family. And so Saturn retrograde, just even on the physical level, if you are somebody who has been maybe renovating a property, and you were planning to do the whole thing, that could be put on hold. You could be like going, wait a second, I'm not sure if I want to have this addition. You've had a lot of energy in this area because you have both Saturn and Jupiter in this sector. Of course, I just said that Jupiter is going into Pisces, but up until now, in 2021, okay, and at the end of 2020. So something with your real estate matters may come up, but this can be internalized with the idea of what is your responsibility as it pertains to a family member, and this could be specifically with parents, because if you have been taking care of them, you may have felt that you have been saddled with a lot of this responsibility, and maybe you have siblings who are shirking their responsibility. And so you're rethinking that. Maybe you're taking off that burden from yourself. Saturn retrograding can actually, give us a reprieve from these attitudes of feeling like a sense of duty. So I mean, I wouldn't call it rebellion, but it might be that you decide, hey, this isn't only my responsibility. I have 3 other siblings. Well, what's going on with them? They live in the area. Why should I do everything? So the other thing too that can come up is with your career. Saturn is the ruler of the 10th house of career. So when it's in the 4th house, you can have a little bit of like thinking about how that is taking away from your either your career is being affected negatively, or you're on the domestic side, depending on whatever is going on. Maybe you're taking care of your aging parents and you've had to cut your hours at work, and that is affecting your ability to be successful in your career. But then you may feel like, this is my duty, I can't do it. So you're just like kind of like sorting out these things and maybe trying new things, who knows, like other, alternatives. So just keep in mind that there may be something going on with the home front that you are visiting or kind of ironing out. Remember that Saturn is about structure. So Saturn wants there to be that kind of stability in this area. So that's the ultimate goal, whatever is going on. On the 26th, there's a lunar eclipse at 5 degrees of Sag. So for early degree Scorpios, this will fall in your 2nd house of earned income. And it may be that a source of income leaves you at this time when it was an irrevocable ending. It was something that was, destined to happen. And we know that these things do happen that way. Just if you really process that type of experience in a positive way, and you say, I hold the space for something more wonderful to come through because of this experience, and you maintain an even keel while also doing what you need to do to, get your finances right, then that can be the best way to handle something like that. Instead of maybe the typical Scorpio response would be and just be digging in your heels and being was counting on that. I need that. But it's not going to be that way for everybody. For some people, who knows, maybe this is going to be a deluge, or kind of what's that term? When potential energy is finally released, that you finally get your ship coming in. You've been working hard, maybe toiling in obscurity, and you finally have everything just start to flow. Because something finally had to give, and it was time for you to start manifesting. Remember that this is a powerful full moon. So if we look at what the full moon represents, which is about the harvest time, and this is the equivalent of 3 full moons. This could be like a real, something that was a long time coming that you deserved to experience, this financial boon. For the rest of you, later degree Scorpios, this can actually fall in the house of self, the first house. So definitely, I mean, I'm always afraid of saying definitely, but yeah, because, the unequal house system, you will not have neat cusp degrees. So I'll just say later degree. You'll have to check your chart for that. That will be in the first house of the self, and that can be just a change in some area of your life where you just feel this letting go. Like you might be letting go. The universe may be helping you to let go of something. And that could run the gamut, and you may be afraid, I don't want to go. I don't want to experience this. But you know that your higher self is beckoning. Or maybe this can tell you that your higher self is beckoning. Maybe this is a download, a spiritual download about you, to give you that feedback, that reflection on who you really are and what life is really about. And as it pertains to your, self-growth, your even the way you carry yourself is more of the first house. On the 29th, Mercury goes retrograde at 24 degrees of Gemini. So again, we're talking about that 8th house, and this is such a great time for doing research when there's a Mercury retrograde, but it's a great time to really meditate. I mean, the 8th house, usually you think of the 12th house with meditation, but the 8th house can also be maybe even like regression, because I think of like, a Mercury retrograde of your mind being taken back. So, whether it's past lives, I think the 8th house might relate to hypnosis. The 12th house is connected with past lives, though. So anyway, if you have any interest in that, or learning hypnosis techniques or the like, you might be, learning about that, training for that. And it can also be like you picking up some course of study that you had started but you didn't really get into in a particular area that has a metaphysical theme to it, like the 8th house. It might be astrology, tarot, or other things. Okay, Scorpio, I'm going to leave it there. I hope that you enjoyed this. If you'd like a private reading, the link is below. Take care. Bye.